You are listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast, a podcast by diehard fans for fans. Mark covers all things Penn State football and the Pittsburgh Steelers, as well as anything related to the sports and fitness world. Tune in weekly to listen to a couple of dedicated fans talk about these topics without filters. Thank you for listening to the Mark Lesko Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome back in to another episode of the Mark Lesko Podcast, Steelers Central, joined by Jared Miller once again. I meant to have you do the intro, Jared, but yeah, this is pretty much your show, and we're doing the topics that you want to talk about.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I want to talk about too. But
right.
First and foremost, Jared, we got a lot to talk about. Real quick, I want to pull up this. So this is a show that I watch, Coach JB.
Mm-hmm.
He's the man. He's from Last Chance U.
Okay.
The show on Netflix. Great mind. Just a freaking genius with football. He was a great coach. And I love his show. I watch it pretty much every day. They did a kind of face frozens there, but he has this guy, Dr. Jesse Morris, out of Miami, on his show. And they're talking about the Guardian caps. So I want to talk about this real quick. The helmet condoms,
okay.
I call them. So we're going to play this clip, talk about that a little bit, and then move on. So this is interesting. And it's NFL related, which we're going to talk about.
I've been a guy that's avidly against these fucking helmet condoms, I call them. But you did a research study. You did a study. You broke it down. Concussions are up with hats being worn versus not. I think it's 31%.
Yeah.
You can hear that?
I can.
Or whatever. What'd you find out? Break it down with these Guardian caps.
Yeah. So I was actually on that Deshaun Watson podcast the last 2 weeks ago. One of the main people for Guardian was actually on the call. I thought it was kind of funny. But in general, the data, so the data, there's a lot of variability here. So it's like, hey, if you have a previous history of concussions, you're at higher risk. If you're at certain positions, you're probably at lower risk. So there's a lot of variability, but this was a specific study for high school students. So obviously different levels, but and they only did them in practice. So yes, there's a lower incidence of concussions in practice in general compared to games, and maybe it was a regulation thing or not everybody had access, so they couldn't do it. But the data showed that there was, I think, roughly 700 people wearing Guardian caps and about 600 or somewhere between 500 and 600 people not wearing them. And the percentage of concussions that people sustained was higher in the group that had the Guardian caps on. So even though there was more of them, it was more about the percentages than the total, because obviously the total will be skewed. So then the question becomes, do you get a false sense of security with that on and hit harder or act more reckless? It's a valid question. Is the additional weight of the helmet, and it's not a lot, but it's enough, is the additional weight causing stress on the neck, which allows for more whiplash? That's a separate discussion and something that's worthy of looking into. I know they want to decrease, I know they want to decrease the risk of concussions, as they should. I just don't know if I completely believe these or the Q collars actually make a difference. And this study, from what I can tell, is unbiased. If you're having a study by the NFL or by the makers of the caps, you're inherently biased, unfortunately. Like, you don't have a choice. You're going to want, so that's the breakdown of the study. I think the link's at the bottom if you want to look at it. I'm sure there'll be more coming out. I get that you're trying to protect. I just don't know if this is the answer. And most of these injuries are rotational. So you should have more padding in the back when you hit your head. And even then, is a little bit more foam really going to make big difference when you have the best helmets we've ever had, like ever. So the data in general is that the concussions are down. The data in general is that the kickoff rule, and I did a little segment on Fox, I think it was, the other day. The data for the dynamic kickoff this year, concussions were down, specifically in the kickoff, and lower extremity injuries were down.
Okay.
Which is good, right? Why? Because if you think of the old rule where basically people were running into each other at full force, right? It's the only time you're ever going to be both running at each other full force, unless there's a pick or something like that. But in terms of a regulated field, now it's we wait until you catch the ball and then you run. So there's a lot less ramp up and therefore a lot less running into each other. And there was a lot more plays and there was a lot more touchdowns and there was a lot more action because of how they designed it. So I think the rule was not only effective for excitement, but also effective for safety. So I think they continue to implement that, and that's what the data showed. And in general, I agree. I think there were more injuries throughout the season than we're used to seeing. But in terms of kickoff, which are mostly special teams guys for the most part, and the good news is if they decide to put one of their stars back there to receive, like Debo would do it, and then you have a little bit more, okay, maybe the risk is a little lower now that I can risk my star being out there and maybe making a play or two compared to the old rule. So I like that, and I think that's a good idea. But overall, I think there was way more injuries throughout the season than, in my opinion, than ever before. I don't know if I have specific side-by-side data just because in the grind it's just so ridiculous. But even just tracking quarterback, running back, tight ends, and wide receivers, there were weeks where I had 70 to 80 guys that were actively on the list and probably 15 to 20 that pulled off just to make it easy. I mean, that's a lot of players. And now, obviously, they're saying they want to add an 18th game, but they're not going to do it. And we heard that 5 years ago before they added the 17th game. So we'll see how that plays out. But and now they're adding a game in Australia and a game in Ireland. So you're adding even crazier travel. You want to talk about crazy travel? That's a whole nother level of travel to Australia. I mean, Germany's one thing, but Australia.
Yeah, it's crazy. That I don't know. The helmet, we've had a guy that creates those helmets, a good friend of mine who's made very profitable business off it. He started it years ago. He's got like the patent on the actual design of the helmet, and good friend of mine, Mike Jules, he comes on often, but he told me from the gate they're actually more dangerous. They're only for 7-on-7. They're only for protection with no pads on. They're to protect shoulders when you're not in pads and your helmet, and you're just from hitting another helmetless player. So they're not for padded games. They're not for collision. They're not for that. Yeah. He said the cushion, the actual invention of it is actually going to cause more damage. He said he was shocked the NFL approved it because the padding in there, he said, it actually will impact the spine when it hits a solid object, and it will do like a car hitting a wall.
Yeah, like a push. It'll
do that. He says it's going to cause more damage. So he said that on our show, a year and a half ago when they started with this helmet stuff, and the NFL started to contemplate it in practice. And he was like, man, this is crazy. And now they're coming out with a whole new product of it and still continuing to promote it. And if you think about it, Doc, you mentioned the lower extremities. And I have a rationale. Have you seen the knee pads and thigh pads being worn in the NFL and college football lately? They're fucking wearing shorts almost in games.
I don't think they're wearing them.
Smitty and I played. We had to have our knees past our knee pads had to be past our kneecaps, or we would have a penalty.
Yeah.
Now, if you go look at a college football game, these guys are in the game, and you're seeing full thigh.
Yeah.
You're seeing full thigh. You're seeing full knee exposed, and I haven't seen anything. I haven't seen nobody talk about it. And that's number one reason for concussions. A femur, our largest bone in the body, hitting a head when you didn't have a thigh pad or a knee pad in was the reason we had to wear the knee and thigh pad. Then they took it out. And now it's funny that you see all these tackles that you mentioned. If you notice, all tackles by secondary players, they're standing up when the when the ball carrier goes down, the DB is still standing up. If you notice, go watch it closely. These guys are tackling like this. They're not tackling anymore, and this is why the lower extremity, I would say, is probably healthier this year because they're not tackling no more. They don't have shit down there, and they don't even go to the ground.
All right, Jared, what do you think about that?
Taxes.
Stupid ads.
I mean, I think that seems like you've got yourself sound, data. Everybody seems like it's probably not good for you. I mean, I don't understand how you can think that would be what you need for the NFL or just for anyone who plays the sport in general, but it just seems like primarily these guys are doing it, in preseason, during where you're just doing kind of tackling straight, it's not full contact. Like, it's just like, that makes no sense how they think that it would lower something if they were using it in those type of situations where it's full contact. I don't understand all that at all. But in that sense, like, why would they think it would work if the data shows that? So, I mean, it seems like, yeah, you took a big risk in terms of like showing, does this help? And it clearly doesn't. So, I mean, at least you have an answer. I mean, that seems like that's where that went. So I feel like that was important to know. At the same time, it's like the fact that we had to go through that, and they said about like that's the best the helmets have looked like ever, and it's now you're adding these things onto it. It just seems like you're not going to be able to figure this out that simply. So doing the fair catch and now running outside of like, just full on, steam, like they said, I mean, that's kind of lowered the numbers of concussions down too. So I'm glad to know something is helping, but clearly the helmet does not need to be a thing. So I get where they were coming from, but to me, that seemed like that was a horrible experiment to see if it would work. So I just think that was completely pointless of them to ever even try.
Yeah, like I said, call them helmet condoms. I think they're a horrible idea.
Yeah.
7-on-7, yeah, why not? But and that's mainly to protect everything but your head if you're wearing something soft on your head because helmets are hard. But yeah, and then he makes a great point with the knee pads too and the thigh pads. Yeah. I've noticed that in the NFL, college.
Yeah, he said that. I until he pointed that out, I'm like, yeah, I wasn't even aware that was a thing, and I'll have to go and watch things now. I mean, Penn State, I do notice that there are some guys that are wearing like pretty much like looks like practice shorts or something. Like I've seen that in like the earlier years, like in like this fall, like when it's warmer, but I didn't notice if it was all year round.
Yeah, they have the pants up above their knees, which like he said when I played, that guy on the right, Smitty, he's close to my age, a little younger than me, but man, you had to wear pads everywhere. Now in high school we didn't wear rib pads. We did when we were younger, but even that would have been nice because now I never took any shots in the ribs, but well, I'm sure I did in high school and stuff, but I don't really remember. I never broke any ribs or anything, but
right,
man, I wore my shoulder pads, my hip pads, thigh pads, knee pads, helmet. So the fact that they aren't wearing those anymore, that can cause more concussions, obviously. But yeah, there's guys wearing them in games. I said a couple years ago, when the NFL starts wearing Guardian caps in games, like consistently, is when I stop watching the NFL. So it's already not a very good product. It's gone downhill for sure. They seem to be getting a little less political, which is good. Yeah, they definitely have, gone by the wayside in the sense of just, and there's already so many safety measures to where it's like almost not even football anymore.
Yeah.
So, and you're wearing these things like Jonathan Taylor, I saw wearing a Guardian cap and a helmet condom in a game. Chiefs lineman I noticed was wearing one. Like, I just think not only does it look stupid, but it's not gonna. Now, this high school study, that's as the levels go on, you get more precise with everything.
Right.
Like college, Division I especially, and then the NFL. Like Pete Rose said, it was easier for him to hit in the MLB than it was in the minors because pitching was better in the majors. So
Yep.
there's that whole thing with that. And then, on top of that, when you do have something soft on your head like that, like I can't imagine that it actually would protect you more. It's like when you go to the gym and you squat, you want to have flat shoes on. You don't be wearing sneakers because what are you pushing into? You're pushing into some squishy rubber on it in sneakers as opposed to wearing something flat and almost being in your bare feet.
Yeah.
And then, if you want to build more legs, obviously you have like some elevation on your heel and stuff. But yeah, man, it's just overall, I think they, like I said, they look dumb. I think you look like a wimp when you wear it, to put it nicely. And I just don't think it's necessary. So there was this guy, I forget I think he invented it or something like that. He was on the Pat McAfee show, talk about how much better it was and how, concussions went down, and they did studies on the impacts on the head, like the front, back, side. He said, yeah, like they went way down. And he was pretty arrogant when he was on. And I thought that was hilarious because I'm like, well, dude, you work for the company. Obviously you're going to talk well of it. And you probably haven't played football in your life. So,
Right.
yeah, I just think it looks terrible. And if I was playing and they had that crap, like I wouldn't use it. That's for sure. Like hit people like a real man. If you get a concussion, like I had 3 of them, get a concussion like a man. Don't wear it. Do it wearing a Guardian cap, especially if that's the cause. So,
I mean, but we're going into a territory of life. I mean, not to open this up broader, like let's get a life philosophical thing, but I mean, it's just the language of life now, where it just seems like what we had 20, 30, 40 years ago cannot really be a thing anymore. I mean, I just feel like there are a lot of things in life that, have withstood the test of time. And again, I'm not trying to compare anything to this, but there are a lot of things in life we still have from over a century ago. We still have today. And it's like, no one talks about like how certain little things like, flossing, how far has flossing gone? I mean, you put a thing in that, you get that out, that's it. I mean, you have this little rubber thing sometimes they give you with little band, but like they try to enhance little things here and there, but it's like that's the general thing that you have done with your life, and it's still going on for like however many decades, a century plus. And it's like when you look at like sports, you see how much violent everything starts out as. Like if you think of like baseball, like for example, 200 years ago, dude, you were basically punching guys while you were going through the base paths. Like when you were getting to second, the ball's coming at the guy, you're basically punching him out, trying to get that ball out of his hand so you don't get out. Like sliding into you, like you're trying to kick the guy like right in the midsection with your cleats. I mean, there's a lot of things that, have you seen how it was done many, many years ago? Now these days, it's like you're basically just like trotting to the base, like these things, like it's like you're moving this way and that way. I watched something on Facebook the other day where someone showed one of the first Pro Bowls, and you're watching the dude come out of the backfield and this defender just boom, and you just see that helmet fly about 10-20 feet backwards, and then you saw the other video play and it was just this year's, and you're just watching everyone's about 100 feet away. Like the one guy's standing there looking around. He's thrown out. There's no harm. There's no potential for any type of play. It just seems like it's completely and totally a different game when you try to find new ways to give us something else. And no, that's not what everybody remembers. Like, the biggest factors of the game is the hitting, and that's why everyone watches it. It's like taking gas at a NASCAR. Like, what's the point of like those cars going around the track if you don't have any gas in them? Like, what's the point of watching football if there's not going to be a hit? Like, that's the nature of it all. Like, I know I'm not trying to like, say we got to stay old school and, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But man, it is definitely something that they are trying everything they possibly can to either dumb down or just not make it any more like it used to be.
Yeah. So, I mean, the world's gotten more soft. The NFL's gotten more soft. Football, just in general, has gotten more soft. Society's gotten more soft. I mean, there was the best player on Alabama. For the love of God, he did a nail painting commercial, and he got paid like $2.5 million for this thing. And then they said, well, it's for his sister. It's like, okay, well, first of all, if it is truly for your sister, why are you doing the commercial by yourself? And and why are you being paid by them and making a cake and all this very strange stuff? Yeah. So, yeah, just weird stuff, man. Like Caleb Williams, I mean, he's an oddball for sure. So yeah, he's one of the first ones that I saw painting nails, and yeah, just really strange stuff that for me, I didn't play that too long ago, but even stuff for me, I'm like, what the hell is this?
Guys, it's Ron Hollywood Williams here, and it's a big day for me. As you can clearly see, it's my birthday, and it's also the big game, so I gotta get right today. Gotta start off right, get the nails right.
I mean, listen, you're looking at the entire NFL right now. The Steelers, their identity crisis is their. No, but okay.
My Sally Hansen pick on my birthday. I gotta go back to my first ever color, the Onyx pick, all black, baby. Gotta finish up with the top coat.
All right, that's enough of that. But yeah, I have no idea, man. But
no, but I mean, listen, if you're talking about the identity of like, no, I'm saying like, you look at the identity of teams like the Bears, like teams like the Jets. It's this whole dynamic now where it's like, if you're not the flavor of the month now for the NFL itself, like it just seems like they are constantly in an identity crisis. And, if the Steelers are definitely a good example of an identity crisis, they're the exact opposite. They're just too stubborn to do anything about it. Like, this is where it all comes down to, dude. If you're talking about an identity, if you're talking about what they've always been known for, it has always been this way, the Rooney, like the defense and running back. Like, I've always heard these two things from the Steelers, and they won't go off of it. Like, this is what it's all about. Like, we're asking Art Rooney II, who everyone talks about as an owner. It's not his dad anymore. Like the dad philosophy from Art Rooney, it's just like Dan Rooney's gone. It's not what it used to be. And then now you're talking about what he wants for it, like who he has is charge of the whole thing between Khan, who, we have to hope and pray that he delivers the greatest draft, every year, because it seems like no matter what they do, like the coaching staff for this team is just going to take everybody down a notch or two. Because again, I remember how excited we all got about Roman Wilson. We never saw the dude. And I'm so scared that it's like this next coming draft, like whoever it is, it doesn't matter, because it's like they're going to dumb it down. They're going to always say that these guys aren't ready, blah, blah. And injuries are always going to play a factor. And again, I'm always seeing what goes down with the coaching staff. And again, it always reverts back to Mike Tomlin, dude. Everybody always talks about what we're talking with. The standard is the standard. The mediocrity is the mediocrity. I mean, again, we've been playing it over and over again, back and forth. And it just seems like it's never going to change. I mean, I'm not saying that we don't have anything to talk about or get ready for or be hopeful about, but if they don't make it happen, like that's the attitude they constantly have with their egos. If we weren't right, we don't care about anybody else's opinion or our facts. Like if we weren't right, then we are going to take the entire ship down with us. Like they will intentionally sink the entire ship of the season and make us all suffer for it, because it's like, we wish we had a vote, because the fans know exactly. Like we watch it all the time. It's clear as day that you need to put in playmakers that know how to play this generation style of ball. Now, it's not to say that it's never going to always be the same. Like 20 years ago, it was defensive stuff. This now happens to be offensive stuff. It's not what it's geared toward for Tomlin. I mean, that's the thing. It's all offense, dude, and that is not his forte. So we're constantly having to give us like the best version of whatever he thinks is going to work. And this is what it's trapped into. So yeah, I totally understand that teams like Chicago or teams like the Jets, like they're completely in identity crisis all the time. Team like Jacksonville, it's like they want to be something, but again, they just, as an organization, like the whole NFL just seems like they only want certain teams to have a certain image. And we're constantly like, what is it that we're trying to be? And again, the Steelers are just locked in the past, bud. They're just constantly bringing up what we worked before, and now it doesn't work anymore, because that's not what the NFL is anymore. So that's the whole thing we're going to be dealing with in the offseason, trying to find a way to give us just enough of a different culture that it's like, you're saying yes. You're trying to be better. You're trying to get into this. Like people constantly say, you got to change with the times. And that's the thing. Like we're rather be wallflowers than try to be on the dance floor. But that's just what it is with this.
Yep. All right. So we'll get into Trevor Lawrence. We'll kind of start from the bottom and go up.
Yeah.
But yeah, Trevor Lawrence. There was rumor that he might be coming to the Steelers. I said this before that he might be a good option, probably their only option. And we heard that wasn't true. That was a fake story. You said it was a fake story, but I want to talk about it anyway. They said no way.
Oh, no, they said, yeah, it wasn't that it was fake. It was like someone came out of the organization and be like, no, that is not happening yet.
Yeah, we also heard that about Russell Wilson and Justin Fields too last year. So I think anything is possible. I think it's still possible, regardless of what they say. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just simply going off of what people are saying, which is not factual. That doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So, but yeah, apparently it was like you're saying you heard it was a fake story, but I think he would be a good fit for us, a good option. I thought they should have drafted him because he would have been there when Big Ben was still there, I believe.
Yep.
So that would have been good to have him under Ben's belt for a little bit. They should have done this a long time ago. Now we're in the situation we are, obviously, because Mike Tomlin, I guess it's an ego thing, and I don't get it. But yeah, we're not winning a Super Bowl with Justin Fields at quarterback, man. I don't care if he has, Terrell Owens, Jerry Rice, Hines Ward, and Torrey Holt at receiver. He's not winning a Super Bowl, man. Justin Fields has not taken us to a Super Bowl. He's good, but he's not winning us a Super Bowl. There's no way. So we have to get a quarterback that can get us to a Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence is that guy. Arch Manning could be that guy. So what do you think about this story?
I mean, dude, regardless of if someone came out and did not want it to happen from the Jacksonville perspective, I mean, listen, I personally liked the step-by-step game or game-by-game kind of build that Justin Fields had this year. I mean, again, they had a really tough loss against Indianapolis Colts. I mean, that was not a good image for him, but at the same time, seeing him at the helm and watching, like, showing signs of improvement, looking how they did, like, they just seemed like they were in a pretty good groove offensive line-wise. I mean, I think Najee and Jalen. I know.
So you think? Let's just focus on the Trevor Lawrence thing. Like you,
right? No, but I'm saying so.
Justin Fields, we can win a Super Bowl. You think that?
Well, I mean, I'd like to think that if he was given a full season of complete control, I don't know. I mean, that's really where it all went downhill because again, Tomlin made it abundantly clear that Russell Wilson was going to be the guy once he was healthy. They put him in, and of course he was going to look great against bad defenses. And then he, of course, went up against the elite, didn't look good, and this is where the situation went down. Like Justin Fields kind of got shackled, really put into the plate. Calls a lot. Like they just did not have a game plan for him. Where it was like, how could you not? That was one of the fastest dudes at running back, quarterback, being so he can run plays just as well as he could throw, or better than he could throw. But they never tried to take advantage of it. So I didn't understand that game plan. But Trevor Lawrence with an Arthur Smith offensive-led team, like I don't know how he would mesh with Tomlin. I really don't know how he would look as just a pocket guy. Like again, I'm always about the tradition, and I like a quarterback that knows how to sling the ball. Trevor Lawrence is a guy who can do that. Now, then you're looking at what? Like George Pickens and potentially Darnell Washington. And I want Pat Freiermuth involved with it too. That's another thing, bud. I understand you're not a big fan of Pat. I understand that completely. But at the same time, I knew that the dude could have the tools to be a top 10 tight end. Not maybe a top 5, but he could definitely be between 6 and 10. I've always believed it. They just do not know what to do with that guy because they don't want to run the schemes right. Like, they just want to use tight ends as blockers. Like, that's what we've seen all the time. They don't ever use the tight ends correctly because most tight ends are in the middle of the field exposed. Like, they just try to open up the field, get it down in like 15, 20-yard territory and catch the ball. So that they never wanted to take advantage of it because they knew the line was not strong enough to withhold that type of time for a guy like either Fields or Wilson, whatever. So they didn't use the tight end spot right at all this year. And because of the banged up offensive line, the running backs were inconsistent. Like there were games where they looked great at a whole, and then there were times where they couldn't find anything to save their lives. So a Trevor Lawrence,
we do have receivers, Jared. Some. I mean, if we get a good quarterback, I think we could do with that what we will. I mean, Pat Freiermuth has no receivers. He has Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, I guess, but they don't have receivers. I mean, I don't know what.
Did you say Pat? I think you meant Patrick Mahomes, bud.
What did I say?
I think you said Pat Freiermuth. Did you mean Patrick Mahomes? Okay.
Patrick Mahomes has no receivers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right.
So I think if we get a good quarterback, we could do. Man, where's our lads at? I'm trying to look up the. Oh wait, my bad. All right, so like we have George Pickens, Van Jefferson, we have Calvin Austin, we have Roman Wilson. We do have some guys at receiver that he could work with. I mean, Calvin Austin's a good option. Roman Wilson will be, I think. We have Mike Williams as well. So if we got like a good quarterback, I think we can do with these receivers. So that's obviously a hole that you just mentioned. Tight end, we're good. I think the O-line's fine. We got depth. But, running back's another issue that we have. I personally don't want Scattaboo. I don't want, Ashton Genty could be a good option, but I definitely don't want Scattaboo. Just that one game in the playoff, he took like 12 freaking concussion hits in that game alone, let alone in the NFL. Like, I don't think he'd have a long career. I think he'd be a better fullback than anything, even a linebacker. But, I think if we get like a Trevor Lawrence with these receivers, we could make that happen. But yeah, I don't know, man. There's a lot of holes. Running back room sucks. Jalen Warren's not a 4-down back. And this is just my opinion. Najee Harris, not good. Cordell Patterson did nothing this year. So we're not winning a Super Bowl with this roster. We're just not. And, I said it going into the Super Bowl with Anthony. I said, the Super Bowl is going to come down to this group right here, the defensive line, and the Eagles' defensive line totally dominated them. That's why they won.
Oh, dude.
And Jalen Hurts had a career game, but yeah, man, like Cam Hayward, he's old. Pretty much, you know, Keanu Benton, Larry Ogunjobi, Loudermilk gets in there, Adams gets in there, and then TJ, he's getting older. Patrick Queen's still, you know, in good shape.
Yeah.
Highsmith is getting a little older. Minka's getting older. We need another guy opposite of Joey Porter. So, yeah, man, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you know, dude, like with the defense, that right there just tells you the Terrell Austin thing was just, that was what it was all about. Play calling. And again, when you're using Minka like 20, 30 yards downfield from the safety position that you're supposed to be at, I mean, Dante Jackson, dude, I mean, he wasn't the most consistent dude because he was hurt a lot. I heard a story about how he played through an injury. He had a lot of back issues. Like that right there can put you down. I mean, he had some great moments, but they wouldn't use guys like Beanie Bishop completely because Cam Sutton came back in and disrupted everything. You could tell once Cam Sutton came in, everything like on the defensive side just completely derailed. Like our numbers went completely down. It was bad.
Yeah. I mean, a quarterback, like we got, you know, I think I don't know about the defense, but right now, Russell Wilson, that's not going to work. Justin Fields could work, but with Justin Fields at quarterback, and if they don't get, and I guess, yeah, with Trevor Lawrence, we're kind of waiting to hear the story. He would be a good fit. I think we were both in agreement on that. But let's say, you know, to get into the Cooper Kupp / Emeka Egbuka story, if we go with Justin Fields, all right. Omar Khan, we'll see what he does. He made a lot of moves last year, but it didn't work out. I think they should have kept Justin Fields in. We kind of know what Russell Wilson can do. He, you know, death, taxes, and Russell Wilson taking sacks. Those are the 3 guarantees in life. He has no mobility at all. He's going to take a sack. So if we can keep Justin Fields and put him as the starter, and then use George Pickens, maybe a Cooper Kupp in there, and then getting Emeka Egbuka in the first round, that's plenty of weapons for Justin Fields, who I think ultimately should be a running back because he's a great runner. But they need to use him in the running game. They need to use it, like, you know, in the mobile quarterback game is what I mean.
Right.
And then they need to work on his like accuracy and stuff like that. But if they can get 2 receivers in the, you know, in this offseason, whether it be draft or free agency, get more weapons around him, I think it'll be better. But running back is also an issue. So, I mean,
personally, and this is my opinion. I'm gonna try and make a prediction on this. If the Trevor Lawrence thing does happen, if he does somehow come to Pittsburgh, I do believe if they get him, they are going to go defense in the offseason. I think they're going to build the defense up more for Trevor Lawrence because I think, again, with a skill set like his, they can rely mostly on like the offensive weapons, wide receiver or tight ends. Maybe the running back will maybe not be as big a factor, but if they go the route of Justin Fields, dude, they are going to acquire as many pieces for him. They will go wide receiver in the draft. They will go either running back in the draft. Like, I think it really depends on what they have as quarterback. Like, because if you're looking at trying to find a strength, which, again, Justin Fields is his legs, then you're going to full-on go probably that route, where it's like you're going to probably find the best running back you can get available, either in free agency or in the draft, and keep Jalen Warren as the backup and use Justin Fields as need be, because this is where it's going to be. Either you're going to try to make a push for something and try to make maybe a playoff run. I mean, I personally think all signs are pointing that this is just going to be one of those years where it may finally be a losing season. Finally. Like, I'm not saying that's
and then,
a good thing, but all signs are pointing that they may need to just take a step back for a year to really find out what they want to do at quarterback, because this is not a quarterback draft. And honestly, that's where it needs to be. If you're trying to do something for the Steelers' future, you need to get your franchise quarterback figured out. That is the most important position in the game. That's not a discussion. So unless you're trying to say that Justin Fields is good enough with his legs, because again, I feel like he would have more rushing yards to himself or rushing touchdowns than he would passing. Like, I'm not saying that he can't improve, but
they need to use his legs, for
yeah,
sure.
like that's just a given. So,
but if we were to have a losing season, Jared, we're looking at Arch Manning, who I think they should get if they don't get a quarterback this offseason. You just go for Arch Manning. You go all in, go for Arch Manning, because I think he's the real deal. I think he's going to be playing in the top 4 next year and maybe a national championship, maybe against Penn State. We'll see.
So, and I don't know if you know the story, Bud, but you know I think it was linebacker Preston Smith. I think that's it. What his position was? He was. I think was he a linebacker?
Yeah. They just released him.
They released him. So they just opened up $13 million more in cap space. They now have somewhere in the neighborhood of like $75, $80 million in cap space. That has got to be in the top 5 in all of NFL. Like, so if we're not gearing up for an offseason of acquirees, like, we've got enough to back a truck up. At least, now I don't know if they're doing this for TJ Watt's extension. Like, that could also be another route they're going, because I heard someone say, from the Steelers organization, that they want to lock TJ down and make him a Steeler for life. You go that route, you better be giving him a Super Bowl or giving him something soon. So he ain't getting any younger.
According to this, we're picking 12, which is a losing season, I think. Even at 8-8, man, this thing is jumping all over the place. Holy crap!
It is.
This website is awful. WalterFootball.com. So even Drew Aller, he would be an option. So, all right, I need to get up. So even Drew Aller would be an option, but yeah, they freed up cap, which means they could be making a big move this offseason. Or again, if they have a losing season next year, man, because eventually at some point, I think his name's like Kevin Adams or something like that. The kid that has the Steel City podcast, or Steelcast, it's called, with Jersey Jerry from Barstool Sports, put up a sign that said, "Sell the team, Mike Tomlin, you suck," basically. He bought the sign and put it up in Pittsburgh. So if they don't get a quarterback this year, Justin Fields, we go with him. If he doesn't have success, we better get a quarterback in the draft next year, like a top quarterback.
That should be a given. Yeah.
Or we get Trevor Lawrence this year, and then we build around him. Trevor Lawrence is good on age. If Justin Fields doesn't have success and we don't get a good quarterback next year, and Trevor Lawrence doesn't come, then it's literally burn your ships. Like, we need to protest the Steelers because this is horrendous. It's embarrassing. So again, Big Ben, listening to his podcast, he talked about what you just said. Steelers not changing. The great point you just made. And what Julian Edelman said, right?
Yep, that was right, exactly. Yep, he was on someone's podcast, I think Patriots or something. Yeah,
and he said about the Steelers don't change, and Big Ben said you have to change.
Right.
So if one of those 3 things does not happen, man, we're totally screwed. Totally screwed. So and if we keep winning enough to where we don't get a good draft pick, as fans, at some point you have to be like, all right, am I still going to go to games? Am I going to watch? You have to protest. You vote with your dollar, So same goes for Penn State. Stop filling up the stadium if you're not happy with the product, because they're still bringing in money. Unless, next year we have to go to a national championship, appear in one or whatever. You have to, man, because if you don't with this talent, I don't know what else to say. And these coaches now. So overall, one of those 3 things has to happen. And if it does not, man, I don't know what's going to happen. But if we don't get Trevor Lawrence, yes, and even if we do get some receivers like Cooper Kupp and Mike Buka, I don't know if we're gonna have a winning season. And I'll look up the latest on Cooper Kupp, but Cooper Kupp, what a name, man!
It is a good
It
name.
reminds me of Reese's peanut butter cup.
It does.
Clear favorite emerges for Cooper Kupp trade. All right. Let's see. They always talk about a bunch of random stuff, and then they talk about what the article is actually about. All right. Good Lord.
All the jumping.
Yeah, holy crap. Broncos, Steelers, Commanders, Patriots, Chiefs. So it looks like we're still in the running for that. So they could get him, but, you know, next year, yeah, we could be looking at a losing season, man. What makes you say that?
I mean, it just seems like there needs to be a change. Like we've been talking, like these guys just refuse to let themselves be open to anything else that is not that standard of, again, we only care about the defense. We only care about the run game. The quarterback just happens to have a great moment. That's great. That's the thing. Like, we are talking about an organization that had a Hall of Fame quarterback that really never needed a coach. He really never needed one because he already had his skill sets pretty much figured out. So it's like Tomlin never had to worry about a quarterback before Ben retired. I mean, once Ben retired, you are seeing the results that we're getting from the quarterback side. And dude, it is just, if it ain't dead last, it's got to be in the top 5 worst I've ever seen. So it's unbelievable how we are just having this quarterback carousel that is just never, ever going the right way. I mean, it's like cranky. It's like, the thing it's leaking oil. Like there's fires shooting out from each side of the carousel. It's horrible. It just throws you for a loop all the time. I'm just wondering, when is that ever going to get figured out? Again, you talk about an offseason of riches last year with the Justin Fields and the Russell Wilson. You're like, man, that's crazy to think you got one that has a great arm and the other guy has a great leg. I mean, it's just, how could you lose? And again, I marvel at how the Steelers kind of take that as a challenge accepted kind of attitude. But in the end, dude.
All right. This was a couple days ago. Steelers landing. Bombshell report from Ryan Burr says that the Steelers have inquired about trading for former Jacksonville Jaguars #1 overall pick, sending their 2025 first and second round picks in return. I mean, first of all, people said it was fake. That's total bullshit. This happened. I mean, this definitely happened.
I'm not saying they said it was fake. I'm not saying they were fake. I'm saying that they basically shut it down. Like the organization came on and basically is like debunking the whole thing.
Well, here's the thing about that too. If they shut that down so much, they wouldn't even try to do this. I don't think. Like, it's like if I sent you a letter, be like, "Hey, Jared, we're going on a cruise," and you just got this in the mail, you're like, well, I can't do that because I'm doing this that weekend. I'm probably going to let you know first.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's...
I get what you're saying.
It's like, yeah, I think it happened. I think it's still possible. I mean, they said that last year, like, Russell Wilson, that won't happen. Justin Fields. And then he got them both.
Yeah.
So I think it's very, very, very possible that this could happen. But yeah, man, if they don't change, like... Steelers fans, you have to ask yourself, when is enough enough?
Yeah.
I mean, it's at this point, it's pretty ridiculous. With all of that. But
yeah.
All right, Jared, to go back down through here, the new linebacker coach. We just signed another guy today.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see a Dallas guy? So Who are they?
No.
Yeah, we just signed like a assistant linebacker coach or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah,
who did
we
we
promoted
sign as the
within, right?
linebacker coach? What?
Yeah, was that guy from the Raiders or was that from someone within? I forget who
Well,
the
he was
linebacker.
wearing all right, Steelers. McCurley is the second new assistant added to Mike Tomlin, joining secondary coach Gerald Alexander.
Yeah,
All right, so who were you thinking of? Gerald Alexander?
I think it was Gerald Alexander. Yeah.
And I think we got McCurley today or something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. So yesterday, McCurley we got, and then before that we got Alexander. So
Hmm.
what's your excitement about this?
Well, I mean, the fact that they had to lose the one guy, and that was a thing that was great for them, or that we knew the names for them. I mean, Cam Hayward and Patrick Queen and whoever Peyton Wilson, like that wasn't the worst that it could have been. But as the season went on, you could tell that it was a wear and tear thing. So it's something that needed to be addressed. And again, with a guy like they never got Cole Holcomb's back, and they just don't have that solid inside line. Again, we keep bringing it up, but it's like since Ryan Shazier's departure, I mean, we have not filled that void of the inside of the field. And I mean, it's just that's something that needs to be addressed. So, I mean, it seems like that was the smart move for them to bring him in. So I'm wondering what they're going to be doing for this offseason. Are they going to try to, acquire more help for that side? Like that's really outside of cornerback. I think that's what we really need to be focusing on as well. Like for the defensive side, like cornerback, inside linebacker, I mean, even possibly like what is it? Cause Casey, like I don't know. Like you're thinking again, Fitzpatrick. Are we bringing him back? I mean, I don't know how much longer he has on his deal, but it's just that needs to be addressed. Like, what do you want the defense to do? Like, you have all these great names, but it just doesn't seem like anything's coming to fruition. Like, there's not a consistency with everything, and the only thing that you could rely on was probably what, like. Highsmith always getting somewhere. Maybe, TJ was going to get triple team. That was a guarantee last year the whole time. I mean, I just could not believe that they refused to move TJ around the field. Like, that was another thing that just opened your eyes to, like, how Terrell Austin and then the coaching staff, like, how can you be that inept where it's like you had one of the better defensive players in the game. I don't care if he's getting older, but you could have moved him around the field and you just kept putting him on that, left side of the field or whatever side he's normally on. They would never move him. So, I mean, it's just like they're constantly putting themselves in this position themselves. Like they're not, it's not like anyone's telling them that they have it go this way, but they let it go this way. Like they are so stubborn and so egotistical that it's like, this is how we're going to beat you. And we know we're right, even though it's blatant that it's not happening. Like they can say that the house is not on fire, but there's nothing left but ashes. They will tell you that there's nothing wrong behind us. Like, that's what it is, dude. That's always been the issue. Like, I understand.
Go ahead.
Yeah, but I understand that is how a coach sometimes is. Like, the general attitude of a coach is that I am right and I know what I'm doing. I can't not be looking incompetent. I can't have that on my head. And dare if I ever had to be wrong, I can't do that because then the owner will fire me. Like, I don't know. Like, that just seems like that's the attitude they have to constantly go with. So,
well,
figure it out.
We'll talk more about the receiver room. That's a topic that you wanted to talk about too. And we will. We kind of already touched on it, but we'll go into more detail here.
Yeah.
But I would like a media member to ask Mike Tomlin when he says the standard is the standard. Like, standard is the standard. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, such a dumb thing. But what is the standard, Mike Tomlin? And he'll say Super Bowls. Like, okay, well, the games that, that lead to the Super Bowl are playoff games. So you have to win those first. And you have to win one within the last 7 years to even be in spitting distance of the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you need to win those first. That's the last time I think we got smoked by the Patriots in the AFC title game in 2017?
Mm-hmm.
That's the last time we actually won some playoff games.
Yep.
So, and I think that's the one where the Patriots went on to play the Falcons.
Yes.
So, like, and he had the 3 Bs and Bud Dupree and Jarvis Jones, if he would have worked out. Devin Bush. I mean, holy crap, dude.
Yeah.
That's like more wasted talent than the Browns.
Yeah.
Not quite, but it's like what's the standard, Mike Tomlin? What are we talking about here? What is your definition of the standard is the standard?
Right.
Because you talk a lot, but you're not winning. So what's the standard here? What are you talking about? So receiver room. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think we're gonna make some moves? Is that what you're?
Well, I mean, I think that's where we need to go with this because, again, they're constantly talking about potentially moving off George Pickens. Like, I've heard that story too. I mean, again, it's only a speculation. You can't put anything to it. But if that's what's out there, where it's like, well, what else is there? Like, I'm not knocking Van Johnson. I'm not knocking Mike Williams. And I'm certainly not knocking guys like Roman Wilson, who have not seen the field yet for whatever reason. Like, it's just, again, you talk about how badly, what's that?
Roman Wilson, he was hurt, wasn't he?
Well, I mean, he was constantly like having to go through injuries, I get, but it's just like they never got him healthy. Like, I don't know, like when he was healthy, it just seemed like they were not utilizing any opportunity to go somewhere. Like, give us something. Like, the fact that you shut him down for the entire year where it seemed like it didn't need to go that way. I mean, for a rookie, I mean, you wasted a 3rd round pick on the guy. I can't believe that you would not want to at least like see him in a game, if he was supposed to be something for him. Because again, that they were hurting. George Pickens was hurt at one point, and they never even used Mike Williams. You acquired the guy from the Jets, and when George Pickens was hurt, you never used him at all, practically. You were going with Michael Pruitt. I think that's who it was. I don't know if that's the other tight end with the Steelers, but it's like they would rather use They would rather use Connor Hayward and Pruitt over Darnell Washington and Pat Fryer. I mean, this is the game plan that you were saying. It was inept. It was so incompetent. It was random. Like, there were a lot of choices where you look back on the season where it's like, why was this guy off of his position? Why weren't you using the player that you acquired? Why wasn't, like, dude, there are so many things that just make you just like, dude, I have no hair left. I think I scratched whatever hair left I have on my head because they just constantly make these decisions that you're like, you cannot say that you are trying to get to a Super Bowl if all of your decisions are absolutely the opposite of that. Like, it just makes me wonder where it all goes. Because again, if you don't have the right quarterback for you guys, I mean, then it's like, why would your wide receiver room have even any chance of doing something? Because again, guys like Calvin Austin, great runner, but he's 5'8". Like, Van Jefferson, he was always a wide receiver 3. His stuff, the best years was with the Rams, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm just saying, I'm not saying you can't be Matt Stafford, but it's clear that Van Jefferson had to go elsewhere. And then you had Scotty Miller, who never got used. I mean, you had all these other options, and it's just like I never saw the room used correctly, except for possibly, obviously, for George, because he's that talented. The dude knows how to catch a ball like no one's business. So the fact that you only had moon balls from Russ and no balls really thrown from Justin, because again, he's not known for that. So again, what do you have left? I feel like whatever your decision is going to be, you need to figure out what guys are going to be on the field in the wide receiver room. Like wide receiver 1, 2, 3. I personally think George Pickens is a WR2. That is just me. I mean, they can say he has the skills of a 1, but I think he would be better served as a wide receiver 2. And if Cooper Kupp is still a wide receiver 1, he is a MVP. He is a, Super Bowl winning guy. So I'd like to think if he's available, regardless of what is he, 31, 32? I mean, that's not ancient. Cooper Kupp. I think he is in his early 30s.
Is he really? Jeez.
I think so, bud. If he's not 31, he's 32. I know that much.
Can you Google that?
Yeah.
$31. Holy shit. Yeah, he's old.
Yep, he is 31 years old, bud. Yep. Hell, he'll be 32 in June, so he'll be 32 by next season. So, I mean, I'm just saying, knowing who you have at quarterback is going to be essential. And a guy like Trevor Lawrence, I mean, dude, the guy could get you as far as anybody. That's what you always want from a gunslinger like him. So I would very much like to see at least an attempt to go and get the wide receiver one to complement George Pickens. And then you can talk about potentially having Vance Williams or Mike Williams, not Vance, Mike Williams be your number 3. I mean, that would be a very solid thing. Cup, Pickens, Williams. Like, I would very much think that would be a great wide receiving core. Not elite, but it would be solid for a guy like either Trevor Lawrence or a guy. Again, if it's Justin Fields, it's like, okay, I mean, how much is it going to matter if he can't get you the ball? That was the thing about George. He was so frustrated until Russell Wilson came along and he can get him the ball. So it's like, I don't know how they're going to justify using Justin in that sense. Like, if they're going to go with him, then it's like there's no way George Pickens is staying in that regard. Like, he won't want to stay because he's not going to give him the ball. Like, there are so many things that go back and forth with this where it's like, if you go this route, this side gets mad. If you go this way, then this side gets mad. It's like there's no happy medium. There's no meeting in the middle with this where it's like one person's going to be angry and the other one's going to be happy. Like, there's so many things that need to go right for the Steelers. And the thing is, dude, like we've been saying, it's all self-inflicted.
Yeah. Well, Coach JB, who we just had on here, and I'm going to use some language here, just a heads up to everybody. So when he has, it's called Slapdick Nation. He calls.
Okay.
He and if you watch his podcast, like, he does not hold back on profanity. I mean, he swears 24/7. He yells and everything. It's entertaining as hell. But so I believe the definition, Slapdick Nation. Slapdicks are guys that mess around and stuff and cause trouble, but they still have a good head on their shoulders, and they can have potential. Shitbirds are guys that screw around too much and don't have potential, and they're just lost causes pretty much. And he called George Pickens a shitbird, which, I mean, dude, I think that's pretty fitting for him, man. He's not one. I don't think he's a wide receiver one, like you said. So yes, he could be a receiver too. He does not have the mindset or the mental fortitude, I don't think, to be a receiver one.
Right.
Like Devontae Adams, like a Hines Ward, because he was technically our number one.
He was.
And then like DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, those guys are number ones.
They are number ones.
Cup was even a number one.
He was.
Much. So, I mean, at one point he was like the king of fantasy. So
He was.
I think that's a fitting name for him. And you know, all due respect to George Pickens, I like the guy, but I think that's a pretty good fit. He's a diva receiver, just like Antonio Brown, like Chase Claypool, like Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean,
Right. And again, if you're just the wide receiver room, dude, I mean, we've got to put an end to this in that regard. Like you said, diva wide receivers, please. I am begging from the bottom of my heart, just find guys that want to work and do their job. I don't want a showboat. I do not want someone who thinks they need to get their fantasy points up. I just want you to come in, catch the ball, do a great job. Please, I don't see that why that would be so much to ask for, but it seems like ever since Antonio Brown, we have had nothing but diva wide receivers between him, between Chase Claypool. I mean, it's crazy. Like I feel like we have not had it normal for quite some time, and so that would be another thing they would need to address with it. Whoever you bring in, please just do your job and just want to do the job the way it's supposed to be done.
Well, you know, earlier this year, I think it was after the Jets game, I asked you, do you think we can win the Super Bowl? Do you think we're Super Bowl contenders? You said yes, and I agree with you. You're not the only one that's I heard said that. So it's like, yes, we were, man. We were. But then Russell Wilson just took every sack possible, pretty much sucked, and lost a bunch of games in a row. We hit the hardest part of our schedule. We lost,
Right.
which we thought is when we would do better. We were on Hard Knocks, played on Christmas, all that crap.
Right.
So you think we can get Cooper Kupp? All right. Now, if we get Cooper Kupp, what are we giving up for him? Probably not too much. Like, we're not giving him a bag. I know that. He's got
No.
maybe 3 more years in him of good football. Maybe 3
Yeah.
more years.
Yeah, I mean,
But then we can get Agbuka in the first round.
Yep.
And then we have a freaking just absolute assembly line of receivers. I mean, we got Van Jefferson, we got Mike Williams, who I like. Mike Williams is a beast.
I did like him.
George Pickens, Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, and we got Cooper Kupp and Emeka Egbuka. Then we got Justin Fields at quarterback, who we should use more in the running game as well, the mobile game. But then we'd have to address, like, running back. But, yeah, and then at defense, because defensively, scheme-wise, Julian Edelman said we suck, which we do. But we got Patrick Queen, we got TJ Watt, we got Cam Hayward, we got just at linebacker, Highsmith, great players.
Yeah.
Our defensive line is pretty solid. But then at defensive back, we need some help there, man. We need another corner, too. And we don't need names, man. We just need guys that can play.
Right.
I mean, you say about Beanie Bishop. I mean, he had some good games, but you were saying about how they didn't utilize him,
Right. Again, we knew he was going to be taken out when Cam Sutton came back because, again, they acquired him and they knew that he was going to have the 8-game suspension and we had to wait. And again, how could you not see that coming? Like, seriously. Like, a guy coming after 8 games, you expect him, to be the best version of himself 5 years ago? I mean, I didn't understand that at all.
Well,
like, the guy was working.
Crazy, Jared?
Yes.
Not to get off subject here, but I just want to say this real quick. When you think about, we talk about scheme and all that, think of all the top receivers in the game right now. DeAndre Hopkins, Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase.
Okay. Yep.
Who else? That other kid from Minnesota that the Vikings have.
Oh, Jordan Addison.
All those kids from like Drake London, all those guys from Ohio State, like Garrett Wilson and those guys, Marvin Harrison. They're not shitbirds, man. Have we ever been in a time where we don't have diva receivers across the NFL? I don't think so. But we have George Pickens. You know what I mean? It's like, so what's going on? There's something going on here where there's not like all these diva receivers. Like there was always diva receivers. Terrell Owens.
Yep.
I mean, I can't think of a lot of names off the top of my head, but there was always diva receivers, man. Like Randy Moss, even.
Yep.
As good as he was.
Plaxico Burress, who used to be for us.
Diva receiver. So, it's like, but we have a diva receiver, even though that's not that prominent across the NFL right now. So, like, that's why we need more weapons and we just need better quarterback play, because George Pickens type of guy, A.J. Brown's a diva receiver. And then it got like Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, but like the way you get those guys to be happy, which is what we want, is get them the ball and get a good quarterback play. So, because I don't blame George Pickens totally for the way he is.
Right.
He wants to win. He gets mad. He got in a fight after the Browns game.
Yes.
It's like we need better play here, and we need some help. So it comes down to the running back too. Like, what do we got at running back? You know what I mean? I mean, it's just we don't.
Did I say correctly? Like they said that Cordell Patterson is the only running back on the roster that is actually signed to a deal right now. Because Dylan is a free agent, and Najee still hasn't had an extension talk, or he won't sign because I know he's out.
We're gonna have him next year, to be honest with you.
No, more likely he's gone, dude. I'm just saying, like neither one of them is currently under a contract. It's like that needs to be addressed. You cannot just have Cordell Patterson.
So, all right. So, what are we doing at running back?
I mean, I've heard talks of, who was it? Aaron Jones? Was that from the Raiders or the Packers?
Aaron Jones is, I believe.
Is that Viking?
Aaron Jones isn't on the Packers anymore. Aaron Jones is with the Vikings.
Yeah.
Calvin Cook.
Okay. So was he with the Viking? Yeah. They were throwing names like that around to like maybe if like if you want to try to get some mileage out of the dude. I mean, he's now probably 32 himself. I mean,
here's the thing: we could have competed this year for a Super Bowl, definitely. We were doing good.
Yeah.
We just didn't beat the teams we needed to beat. I mean, we beat the Ravens. That was a good win, but
right.
The Jets was even a good win, even though they weren't that good, but it's still a good win. I think we beat the Bengals, beat the Browns. So,
I think the most impressive win last year was the Commanders. Like that was a very, very tough game because
and
they were down by 2 touchdowns.
We competed with the Eagles.
Yeah. There was a time where we were at halftime, but we were still close, and that one horrendous fumble by Najee. Like, God dang, that was a horrible exchange. I mean, that's got to be a horrible highlight for the next season. So,
so we got, and that's largely coaching, I think, how we performed this year. And you had a vet with Russell Wilson, but what it comes down to, man, is we just need like a couple pieces here.
Yeah.
To just because again, what do the Chiefs have? Like you can name Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. Who else they got on the team?
Dude, listen, if you look back on
name anybody.
If you look back on the Super Bowl numbers, for the game, if you take away Patrick Mahomes' scrambles, which pretty much added up to 40 yards or something, all three of their running backs between Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacquiao, or how you say his last name? Yeah, but I mean, all three of their running backs were like horrendous. Like I think all of them averaged like 24 yards, all three of them combined. Like that's horrible. Like you can't get anyone to make at least a yard. Like it was so bad for them. And again, like you said, Patrick Mahomes, I think, threw for 250 yards, and Worthy was 150 of them.
60.
Everybody else was like 40, 20. Yeah. Like it was bad numbers all around.
So yeah, a lot of question marks to be answered. O-line versus D-line. You wanted to talk about that? I mean, we kind of already talked about.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have covered pretty much everything we've wanted to. I mean, again, I think what we end with is just like, we talk about the coaching staff with Terrell Austin and Arthur Smith, and it's just the coordinators.
Let's talk about this real quick. The game in Ireland.
Yeah.
I guess there's some ties there with Ireland and the Steelers.
Okay.
I guess there's quite a few Steelers fans in Ireland.
Well, that makes sense.
I guess the owners have some ties there. I believe Irish are mainly Catholic. So I said the only thing I have in common with Notre Dame is that we're Catholic. But yeah, what I have in common, most people have in common with Ireland is that, well, I'm Catholic and I like to drink too. Not like them, but so it's about the only thing we have in common with Ireland. Apparently the Steelers do have some stuff in common with Ireland, but Steelers to play in the NFL's first regular season game in Ireland in 25. The National Football League will play its first Dublin, Ireland in 2025. The league announced on Friday. So yeah, that's cool. That's a big. Let me see here, Ireland. So let's see here. All right, it's 4 a.m. tomorrow in Ireland, so they're going to be probably playing on what? Well, it'll be on a Sunday, but it might air on a Saturday for us.
Yeah.
Well, no, that wouldn't make sense. I don't know. We're probably going to be up early for the game.
I was going to say, it sounds like it'd be like 7 or 8 a.m.
Yeah, which, those games overseas, well, wherever they're at, like England or wherever they were playing.
They always start at 9 o'clock for those games.
Yeah. So it's probably a 9 a.m. kickoff Eastern time here. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean that's interesting playing in Ireland. Pittsburgh Steelers aiming to play road season. It's I don't know if it's the same stadium as what Florida State played Georgia Tech this year. It probably
Mhm.
is. I could be wrong about that, but yeah. So yeah, yeah. I mean that's cool. It's
It
going to
is.
be a overseas game, in a country like that, or
Yeah.
an area like that. Early for us. But yeah, that's cool, man. We don't know who we're playing yet. We have the schedule,
Yeah.
but we don't have the times and dates. But yeah, so we know we're playing. I looked this up the other day. We've got. All right, so Steelers will play the Ravens, Bengals, Browns in the
Yep.
north. Bills, Packers, Colts, Dolphins, Vikings, and Seahawks. I believe they're all at home. Yep.
Mhm.
And on the road, we will face, which I guess, would this be a road game, technically?
I honestly don't know how they're going to put that. I kind of thought I honestly heard that it was going to be a home game.
All right. So
Yeah.
we could face one of these teams there. It'd be cool to face, like, the Bills or,
Oh,
the Vikings. It'd be crazy if it was an AFC North game in Ireland, which I don't think they would do
Mhm.
that well, I don't know. Did they do division games overseas last year?
that is a good question. I think it was always a division game, but I don't think it was like in their own standings.
Okay. So, yeah, but like Steelers Bills overseas, that'd be cool. And then on the road we face the AFC North, and then the Bears on the road, Lions, Chargers, Patriots, and Jets all on the road. Lions will be tough. Chargers, that's a long trip.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams paints his nails, so we're good there. Patriots are awful, but we would lose that game
Mhm.
because they're the Patriots. Jets
Right.
probably be awful. We'd probably lose that game too. You know how it goes. But yeah, man. I mean, what's your thoughts on the Ireland game?
Oh, dude, I mean, this will be the first time the Steelers have gone overseas since 2014? It's been over 10 years. So I think it's a great opportunity for everyone to see what they are going to do next season. Because again, we're constantly talking about what we're trying to figure out because it's a lot. And I would love nothing more than for this team to like get themselves at a position for the world to know what they're capable of or what they could be. Like, I personally think it would be cool to see the Packers against the Steelers because, again, it'd be the green thing for the Packers. Like, I think that'd be cool for them. And I just feel like anytime you have a chance to be in that highlight, like, it's always going to be a good time. And again, I couldn't be happier for them to finally get this type of like game. So I think it's a great opportunity for them to figure something out for a good game.
Yeah. Okay, 97 played in Dublin. Yeah. Oh, they were Irish immigrants. Okay, that's our ties.
Yep.
It looks like the last time we played, well, in Ireland was 97. But when did we play overseas recently? I don't remember that.
I'm pretty positive we were. I thought we were in London with the Vikings. I'm pretty positive that was the year we started 0-4, or maybe that was 2017. Maybe it was a little under 10 years, but it was that year we started 0-4, and they were talking about getting rid of Tomlin, and then they went on that 8-game win streak, and they went 8-4. I think it was 2017 or 2016. It was one of the years.
He said the terrible towels will make it across the pond. That's for sure. One thing I love about like watching, I every year they play the Super Bowl highlights, which is a great like mini doc on every Super Bowl. I recorded all of them. One thing I love about the Steelers one, especially 40, because we hadn't been in the Super Bowl in like 10 years since like 95. All the terrible towels, man. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
In Detroit. But Jared, to finish off, Fields and Smith, importance for success. Justin Fields, Arthur Smith. We talked about incorporating the run game more for him. So, yeah.
Again, I was trying to like wrap it up with the coaching where it's like, Terrell Austin and Arthur Smith, like they were supposed to be something great because again, Austin has a great defensive group. I mean, all big names, but just never made anything happen. And by the end of the season, they were gassed. And Arthur Smith kind of like kept that horrible curse of Matt Canada. Like, I'm sorry, we didn't move really anywhere offensively. Like our numbers, I think, were just a tad better in like a 4 or 5 game stretch with Russell Wilson because again, we played bad teams and I think the one great game was that Commanders game and it was all, good stuff from Russell, great numbers from everybody. I think Pickens and Williams both had their touchdown. Like it was a great performance by everybody overall. And the fact that we needed a offsides from Jaden Daniels to win it and it happened, like that was crazy to see a game end on a offside. But yeah, like that can't happen where it's like one good game does not trump the fact that you just did not prepare for an entire season. Like that's the thing. We've got to get whoever is in charge, like the quarterback, it's just got to be them all year round. Regardless, I mean, if it get hurt, that's another issue entirely. But that's the thing. We're just not being alert when it comes to like them trying to find ways to be better because it's like again they're too stubborn to change. They just want to constantly say that what they do is right and however they want to run it, that's how it's going to be. Like there's just no other options for us as fans where it's like we know what they're going to do, but we just hope and pray that they do it. And that's the thing that sucks, dude. That's where it's like you want to win, but if you win, it's because they were right. And then they will make us feel bad because we doubted them. It's just like it's such a tough transition where it's like you want them to be right because we're Steelers, but you don't want them to be right because they're egotistical, dinkuses. I want to try to be peachy about it, but that's what it comes down to. I just feel like they just do everything they can to make us sweat, to put us through the worst thing. Again, if we're winners, it just seems like we had to go through hell and back just to have it happen. And it would just be so nice if they had a game plan and they just knew how to move with the time and make it better. But we know what's coming. It's just going to be them being egotistical guys.
Yeah. So for those of you who've made it this far, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
I will be, so long story short, now it's just on the Steelers show or the Penn State show too. I'm only going to be answering comments on Rumble from now on. We'll acknowledge your comments on YouTube. That's where most of our audience is, but for several reasons, I'm going to be migrating over to Rumble. I'll still be on YouTube and Spotify and all that, but I really want to build that Rumble page. So if you want to comment, sign up for Rumble and it's the same as YouTube. Just sign up for Rumble and we will answer your comments on Rumble. We won't be answering them on YouTube anymore because I'm really trying to migrate the audience over there. So, for several reasons. But, so we're going to Rumble. Jared, if you don't have it, get it.
Okay.
I don't think Brett has it either. But, it's basically free speech YouTube. So that's what it is. And
okay.
There's been several people. Steven Crowder, who I watch every day, is on there full time now. Tim Pool just went over there. Barstool Sports is on there. Dr. Disrespect, whoever that is, he's on there, but I guess he has a pretty big following. So, just overall, man, just that's where I'm going to be trying to migrate the audience to. So,
okay.
Just a better setup. And then, Jared, you're going to have your own Pirates show soon. It's going to be you and some guests that you'll have on. I won't be on there. I might be a special guest every once in a while, but you are going to start covering Pirates for the Mark Lesko podcast. So.
Oh, I'm going to try my darndest, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean I'm a Pirates fan. Obviously, you are too. You're way more diehard than me. You know more about it than me. It's something that should be covered. There's a lot of diehard fans out there, and there's obviously a lot of issues with that ball club. The Pens there are doing much better. But I think we draw the line there at like Pirates baseball. The Pens, I mean, I like hockey, but I'm not like,
Right.
I don't even think you follow it that closely, do you?
No, I mean I follow it, but I mean, yeah, I'm definitely it goes Pirates, Steelers, Penguins. Yeah.
Pirates, Steelers, Penguins.
Yep.
And it's sad, man, because it's a historic ball club. I think 5 rings we have.
Yes.
We have several great players: Manny Sanguin, Roberto Clemente, Barry Bonds.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of great players. Jim
Listen.
Leland Dusty Baker was with us. I mean, all this great talent that came to us and then left. Garrett Cole, Skeens, well, he'll be gone soon. So,
but you know, dude, I'll end this night with
he needs to buy a house in L.A. already or New York.
Yeah,
too,
well, he's from California. Like I'll end my night here with this, where if you talk about me being a Pirates fan, being a Pittsburgh fan, I went to the game before the All-Star break, July 12, 2015. We were playing the Cardinals, and at the time, the Cardinals were the premier team in the NL Central. And they just had every opportunity to play against them. Like, we were a playoff team still in 2015. We had 2 years straight of playoff baseball, and we were still a good team. And we took Liriano, and I forget who their pitcher was, but we had Francisco Liriano pitch that night, and they went back and forth. They tied the game. They went into extra innings. Cardinals, you know, they went up 2 runs on us. Like, they went 5-3 in extra innings, and this was before all the different rule changes in extra innings, so you had to earn it. Meanwhile, I'm watching that whole game. Where I was sitting behind 2, like, Pirate fandom, like, from neons ago. Their names were Bill and Bob, I swear to God. Both the names were Bill and one was Bob. Bill went poetic on me, dude. He waxed nostalgically about the years of the 60s and 70s and how long he had been a Pirate fan. He had seen them all. He saw all the greats, dude. And then that night, when they were down 5-3 with 2 outs, the Pirates roared back against Trevor Rosenthal. At the time, was the greatest closer of the game in 2015. They knocked him around with 2 outs. We tied the game up, and Polanco got up, looped the ball into the outfield to win that game. And the first thing I did, I turned around to look at Bill's face. Dude, he looked like he had just seen the game for the first time. His face was shocked, complete in dismay. And you're thinking, that's a dude who's seen everything. He has seen World Series with the Pirates. He's seen all the greats. And he still had that great smile and the great surprise that he didn't see before. It never stops being a great moment. So that's just what I know I can bring for it all. And I can't wait to try to do that with this team or this show. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, like the Steelers, there's a lot of diehard fans. And I mean, like, my family. I mean,
yeah,
all they talk about is the Pirates. And I'm like, first of all, I've used the Pirates as a very important tool in the past few years, that when I want to take a nap, I throw on the Pirates game and I fall asleep like immediately because it's just boring as heck.
Dude, listen, being at a game live is
don't help. Who are the announcers?
Greg Brown and Bob Walk.
Yeah, they're so boring. Like, they're good, but they're boring as crap, man.
Oh, dude, listen, we got Joe Block from the Milwaukee Brewers. Oh my God, that dude will definitely make paint interesting. He is so bad at it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, have fun with that, man. Again, I'll be a special guest every once in a while, but it's gonna be your page. But yeah, I've changed the headlines pretty much on everything, social media and every channel to, Pittsburgh pro teams instead of the Pittsburgh Steelers, so that the people know that we're kind of making that transition into not just the Steelers but other Pittsburgh pro teams too. So, and I have to put pro teams because I'm not just going to say Pittsburgh because we do not cover Pitt on this.
Pitt.
One of the worst schools of all time. If you can't get into Penn State, you go to Pitt. So, that's just how it is. But yeah, man. So I'm looking forward to you doing that. And again, I'll show you how to get in here and save everything and all that. But
All right.
yeah, it's a good thing to cover, man. You're gonna have
Yeah.
a lot of people tuning in, and you know, I think you're gonna have a lot of engagement on there. To be honest with you, dude.
Yeah.
But all right, Jared. Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, thank you,
Have
bud.
fun as always. Yeah, and keep sending me topics. We could probably do this once a week. Just keep sending me topics, what you want to talk about. So
Sure.
all right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night. We'll see you probably next week.
Guys, have a good one.